Hope Saluki Nation had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll be back inside Banterra Center finally on Saturday. It'll be a Saturday night tip, 6 o'clock p.m. Central, for the Salukis and Trojans of the University of Arkansas at Little Rock coming in for this meeting with the Hall of Famer Ronnie Watson. I am Luke Martin. Salukis finally getting off the road. Coach Watson in 3 weeks already this week. 3 games, I should say, this week on Sunday against Delaware, Monday UAB, travel day Tuesday, play Memphis Wednesday, get some food yesterday, very light walkthrough, if you really want to call it that, for the team on Thursday. Practice day today, get hoops tomorrow. It's been a busy week for Coach Nagy and his squad.
Well, I've been busy 2 weeks, Luke. I equate this to kind of being like the Hawaii trip, but maybe twice. I mean, when you go to Hawaii and play, and we had a chance to do it several times, I think 4 times. It it's a long trip because it just takes forever to get there. You have a day or so in advance. You play your however many games you're going to play. Then it takes you a long time to get back. Then it takes you time to get your legs back. Now, the trip on the plane wasn't anything, and plus the 3 hour bus ride wasn't that big deal from Memphis. But man, all in all, while the final score on four of the games was not what we wanted, Southern had a lot of good things, and they played hard. And yeah, I'll finish the with the Memphis game, 17 offensive rebounds. That's a team that's getting better. That's a team that kind of knows how to travel, I guess. But I think about NBA road trips, and I can't imagine what those guys are like. And obviously, the competition's on a totally different level. But they always talk about NBA records on road trips, and Southern really put themselves through a tough stretch. And I really liked the way Coach handled himself after the game, and the message that I'm sure he gave to the team was what he was sharing with us. And he believes in these guys, and he should, because there's a lot to believe in.
Well, there is a ton to believe in, as we said on the air on Wednesday night in Memphis. It's more frustrating, Coach Watson. I hope you can maybe have our fans relate to this a little bit, where when you go back and you watch the film of the game and you can't finger point anything of why it got away, that can be really aggravating for a coach. But for the Salukis this year, and it's not just Memphis, you can go back North Dakota State, you can go back Nevada. There are things you can clearly put your thumbprint on and go, yep, that ended up being a problem. And to me, even though those things happened, that has to be a positive for the Salukis. It's not like there's an unknown, man. Why can't we finish these off? It's known. They know what they need to get their fingerprint on and improve come Valley play.
And a couple of the obvious, I think, to all of us that have watched this team play, there's 3-point shooting's got to get better. Okay. And that comes with work. That comes with, tweaking some things offensively to get guys some cleaner looks. But the big thing is just staying positive with your shooters, and just keep it. It's not broke necessarily. It's just got to be improved. The second thing is it's finishing off halves. I mean, in the Memphis game, it was the first half. It's a 5-point game with 2:10 to go, and there was a couple of bad possessions there, and all of a sudden they go in the locker room down 13. And then, as we've talked about, especially on a road swing like they're on, you spend so much energy to catch back up. Pretty soon it depletes you. And Memphis is talented and they're good. And they've proved it. Sometimes they play at the level of competition. I mean, again, San Francisco's really good. They beat a good San Francisco team. They get beat by UNLV, and people say, well, they're not that good. Well, I bet they're better than what the people saying they're not very good, what they say, and plus, those are some circumstances that certainly their coach, UNLV's coach, had them sky high ready to go in that game, sort of a redemption game for their coach. But Memphis didn't play at the level of the game. They played at their level. And I tell you, when we talked to Coach Lusk, and Coach Lusk saw it in person, and he knew what, he saw that they would create chaos and it was going to be full court. Well, Southern handled the press very well, and Memphis decided, look, this is not a team we can run out of the gym by pressing. So they played back at the arc, and they used their length, and they made that 3-point shooting even tougher to come by. But again, coming back to the 17 offensive rebounds, it's a sign that these Salukis have fight in them. And the things that we're talking about right now, cleaning up, the 2 or 3, 4-minute games at the end of halves or the end of the game, those are fixable. And that's why you play in November.
It's a piggyback off of what you said, Coach Watson. Entering tonight, we're recording this on Friday evening. Saluki's shooting 21.6% in their D1 games from three. They're not attempting a lot of threes either, only 25.7% of their shots. That's 364 in the country. And in case you're wondering where how many teams on Ken Palm there are, there's 365 in Division One on Ken Palm. So the Salukis haven't generated a lot of threes. They haven't been able to make the threes that they have. But one area, when you do look at this team, it's kind of interesting because certain coaches, some coaches that I've been around, are not a big fan of the mid-range shot. This Saluki team offensively, they are ninth in the NCAA. According to Bar Torvik, they are ninth in the country in the percentage or the share of their shots that are in the mid-range. 36.5% of their shots are mid-range twos. But here's the interesting part about it, Coach Watson. Out of the top 20 teams in the country that take that many mid-range twos, there are only two teams in the country that are shooting at a 47% clip or higher. Southern's one of them, UNC Asheville's the other, and they're number one in the country. My point proven in bringing that up is coaches it may not be a high analytical shot, and it shows in a lot of the numbers. But if you make them at a good clip, you can take them. And at this point, Southern has shown that they can make a lot of those mid-range twos.
Well, the one thing you can't deny, Southern gets good shots. Mid-range at the basket, they're shooting, we talk about them not shooting a lot of threes. Well, to their credit, they're right now they're not making those shots. So they're going where they make shots. And in the mid is part of it. And then also, but mainly at the basket. And so we got to give Southern a lot of credit for knowing who they are 7 games in the season. They're going where they score. The mid-range thing, and this isn't the argument whether you should or you shouldn't, but last year's MVP in the NBA was a mid-range jump shooter. And man, as a Pacer fan, I really wish he would have taken more threes, frankly. But he decided to go ahead and win that ring. And that's a small sample size. But all that said, the real credit to Southern right now is they're shooting the majority of their shots where they make their shots, and give a team a lot of credit for not experimenting very often.
Yeah, you talk about really just the 2-point shots per game right now in the country. Southern is generating 47 shots in the 2-point range. That is number one in the country right now. They're pacing everybody in terms of doing that. And then 2-point percentage, they're shooting right at 56.4%. That's still in the top 100 of the country, right at 77 in the nation, again, entering Friday night. So they're generating a ton of twos and they're getting to the rim where they want to get to. Now it's just, can you get some of those outside shots to fall? And you and I both know we've seen it throughout the summer and early on this season. I know Drew Steffi really struggled on Wednesday, didn't have the Jacksonville Classic tournament that he wanted either. Isaiah Stafford, same thing. He's trying to really find that consistency behind the arc. It's not like there are guys you've never seen him do it before, Coach Watson. It's just now you don't want to. I'm trying to stay away from that cliche of they got to put in the work. Yes, they have to put in that in too, but they also got to find that confidence and that swagger that they have and not be afraid to take those shots.
And you make a really good point about Drew Steffi. The thing that Drew does very well, and I've been commenting on it all season long, from the exhibition games to even on, he had a really good play in the second half against Memphis. When Drew gets the ball on the second, usually his first touch or whatever touch it is, when he gets it on a reversal, he is as good as we've seen this year of the people on this Saluki team at getting the ball to the baseline area, to the rim. Whether he scores it sometimes, but he's really good at drawing the defense's help off the dribble and finding open players off of that dribble. So he's got nobody wants to make it three more than he does. Okay. I thought it was really great what he did in Jacksonville when he was looking for it. And then he's looking for it against Memphis. Again, it wasn't quite there, but you're seeing, that's length that maybe you would, let's say Southern gets the NCAA tournament. I don't think you see that length in the first round. Well, maybe you do, but man, you may not see it until the second weekend, that kind of length that Memphis has. That is unusual length when you throw that type of stuff out there. So for us to make any determining factors on guys' skill level right now, what they can and can't do, especially from three, Southern's been really tested with some good competition. man, they have had to play at a very fast pace, and I think Southern's conditioning has been very impressive. Did they were they discouraged in the last two media timeouts to go in the game? Sure. Yeah, it's been a long road trip, and Memphis, give them credit. They just kept extending the lead, kind of like we did against Delaware. And again, that was impressive for Southern to do. Well, Memphis did it also, and they were 1-4 now. Don't forget about that. And
Yeah.
they needed to win too, and they weren't letting that one off the hook. The thing that was interesting about the game with Memphis is Memphis had 28 subs in the first half. We talked about how they played 12 guys, and I don't know what the reasoning is. It's not for me to know, but Southern made the game difficult for Memphis. And when it was a 5-point game with 2:10 to go in the first half, Memphis was looking, there was no energy in that building for them. I think Southern was creating their own energy and had a good fan group sitting behind their bench. But Southern made the game tough for Memphis early on, and it really kept them digging deep. But give Memphis credit; they were the better team that night. They were certainly the longer team, and Southern just, I liked the way they carried themselves throughout.
One of the areas, Coach Watson, when you look at the Saluki team, their first shot defense is really strong. Just the second chance opportunities have really hurt them. Now, Memphis, that was an area where they got better on Wednesday, but heading into tonight, you look at on the season, the percentage of points for our opponents this year, for SMU's opponents that come off second chance points, almost 20% of their points are off second chance points. It's towards one of the bottom quadrants in the country. If SIU can clean that up as they go throughout the year, because one of the biggest positives, the biggest differences from when you look at the non-con last year, this year, Southern is not turning the basketball over as high as a clip as they were last year as they are currently now.
Southern's got good ball handlers. That's part of it. Remember a year ago, there are a lot of guys handling that ball between the hash marks that should have been catching it on the second hash mark as opposed to being decision makers. Right now, Southern's ball handler, Jalen Haynes, he's just doing great work in backing up Kelron. We know Kelron can really handle the ball. Think about turnovers. Southern had one turnover, and you heard me say to Coach Nagy when he said two, I'm like, that was a stat turnover, but as far as coaching turnovers, our guy got ridden out of bounds. We didn't get the call, but the fact is, we had one turnover in that first half where we really turned it over. You do that against that length, and they were trying to turn Southern over in the full court. That's saying something. And you're right. I think those are the things that are going to pay big time dividends going forward.
Daryl Walker, who's the head coach of let me do that again. Daryl Walker, who's the head coach of Arkansas Little Rock, going to see him on Saturday. You're going to get an opportunity to catch up with him. That conversation can be heard on our pregame show, and we're going to play it as well here on our podcast. But as its eighth season at Little Rock, what amazed me is about his career. He's been a head coach in the WNBA. He's been a head coach in the NBA. He, of course, played professionally for 5 NBA teams. And when he was an Arkansas Razorback, he played for a guy by the name of Eddie Sutton and scored over 1,300 career points.
He, to me, is the ideal guy to be coaching college basketball today. Here's a guy that knows a locker room when there's a discrepancy in money. So he was 10 years in the NBA, got drafted by the Knicks. He was a 12th overall pick, and then won a championship with the Bulls in 93. So this guy's been around the highest level of basketball and the highest level of winning. But what is impressive is him being an assistant coach in the NBA. He's also with the Rockford Lightning. He's been around locker rooms where people are getting paid like they are today. And I got a feeling, like, I've been thinking about this all day long. If I was a 25-year-old young coach wanting to get in the college game of coaching, I would beg him. I would go volunteer. I'd do anything to be around a guy like him because he knows how to handle. He knows how to talk to guys. He knows he's been in that locker room. He's been the guy that didn't make as much as Michael Jordan or some other people with the Bulls, I suppose. I think he has a wealth of incredible knowledge of how the professional game is played.
Let's go ahead and get to our conversation with the coach of Arkansas Little Rock, Daryl Walker.
Really an honor to have our guest Little Rock basketball coach Daryl Walker. Coach, if you'll give me just a chance to give you a long introduction, which might take the length of this interview, I grew up a mediocre basketball player in Central Illinois in the late 70s, and I watched you play at Corliss and guys like Aguirre and Dillard at Westinghouse and Isaiah Thomas at St. Joe and Terry Cummins at Carver. I'm going to ask you, I don't think it's an argument. Was that the best era of high school basketball in Chicagoland?
It got to be in the top two for sure.
You better
It
believe
got to
it.
be in the top two for sure. I mean, just you didn't say anything about Teddy Krubbs
Yeah.
and Terry Cummins.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Darius Clemens, who played at Phillips and wound up going to Loyola. The list just goes on and on of some of the really great basketball players that came out, especially in '79. You had Isaiah, Mark Aguirre, Terry Cummins, myself. Just Teddy Grubbs, who's a McDonald's All-American. I mean, you had some Gerard Arnold at Phillips. You had some really good basketball players coming out.
Coach, I have to ask you, growing up in Illinois, how in the world did you get out of the state of Illinois and go to Arkansas?
Well, I tell this story all the time. I was all set to go to DePaul because I knew Teddy Grubbs was going, Terry Cummins had signed, Mark Aguirre was already there, Skip Dillard was there, Bernard Randolph was going, Isaiah was thinking hard about going. So I was, and Ray Meyer had came to my school to recruit me and all that good stuff, but I wanted to go to DePaul. So my high school coach, bless his soul, Donald Young, came to my house with my mother, and we're talking about schools, and he says he's going to Arkansas. And I went on a visit to Arkansas with Coach Sutton and everything. Had a great visit. He said he's going to Arkansas. I said I want to go to DePaul. He said, no, you can't stay in Chicago. If you stay in Chicago, you won't do anything you're supposed to do. You'll be in trouble.
Wow.
You'll be hanging with the wrong people. So I've already talked to Coach Sutton. He got 3 guys down there that plays just like you. The triplets, Marvin Dale, Ron Brewer, and Sidney Moncrief. Those guys play just like you, same size. And my mother said one thing: it's going to cost me any money if he goes to Arkansas. And my high school coach said, absolutely cost you nothing. She said, well, I guess he's going to Arkansas. That's how it happened.
What a great story, and what terrific insight that a high school coach would have, because I grew up in downstate Illinois, and
Right.
we have our social ills like everywhere else, but the city of Chicago, man, that was tough. How
He did
important
right.
was your coach
He did
to
right. Coach Young was everything to me. Father figure, hard nosed, taught me how to play the game the right way. What's a good shot? What's a bad shot? Pass to the open man. All the things that I don't know if it's being taught these days. It's not about me. It was always about the team. I may have been the best player on the team, but I wasn't treated that way.
Coach, basketball has a way of coming full circle, and you played for Coach Eddie Sutton. And what's interesting is, you have no idea who I am, and I coached at Southern Illinois as an assistant for a long time. And indirectly, Coach Sutton, I want to hear about your impact he had on you, but he coached he had an assistant coach by the name of Gene Cady, who then had an assistant coach by the name of Bruce Weber. And then Bruce Weber had an assistant coach by the name of Rodney Watson. And it's interesting, the things that we did at Southern Illinois, 10 years after you played, 20 years, were some of the stuff that Eddie Sutton told Gene Cady. How did Coach Sutton impact you as a player, and how has he impacted you even today as a college coach?
Oh, as a player, it's lucky that I played for Coach Donald Young, my high school coach. Then I played for Gail Condar, legendary coach in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Then I went on to the University of Arkansas. Just how to play the game the right way. Like I said, defensively, guard your man, be in the right position, share the ball, move without the ball, set a screen. All the stuff that's kind of going out the window now in basketball. I understand things change, but I'm still a believer in some of the old things that Coach Sutton taught me, how to play the game of basketball. And some of those things I talk to my team about all the time. Ball you man, point your pistols, see the ball. And that never changes basketball. You got to be ball you man. It can't be ball man you. So at the end of the day, coaches impact me big time on how to be a really good basketball player, develop my skills. But also to think the game. And then off the court stuff, he had to discipline me a lot because I was a wild coat at time on the court and off the court. And he had some strong conversations with me about either buying in or going back to Chicago project. So I bought into what he was saying, became the 12th pick in the draft, and he's been an impact on my life from day one that I got on that campus, man. Coach and I had a unique relationship, a great relationship, and his son Steve Sutton tells me all the time, out of all the players my father coached over years, he said he never saw a player come as far as I came as a player and a person. So he was a big impact on me.
Coach, I'm really glad you brought up the 12th pick, and for Saluki fans to give you some reference to this. In the 83 draft, Ralph Sampson was the number 1 pick, and Clyde Drexler was the 14th pick. And that tells you where the man we're talking to right now stands in the world of college basketball. You want to have a great career. You were drafted by the Knicks, and the face of Saluki basketball is Walt Frazier. Did you end up having a relationship with Walt Frazier?
Yeah, I did. And then later on when I was assistant coach with Mike Woodson with the Knicks, Walt did all of our games. He traveled with us, so we had a chance to really sit down and talk basketball.
As a player, you won a national a world championship with the '93 Bulls, and then you got into the coaching field, and you were in the NBA a long time in different roles: head coach, assistant coach. You were in the WNBA for a little bit. You were with the Rockford Lightning. Mm-hmm. You've spent better than 20 years of your life in professional basketball, and I say all that leading up to where things are today. How impactful has it been for your time in the locker room as a player, an assistant, a head coach been to your job today, where we now have professional college basketball, and you helping you kind of direct that locker room where different people are getting different resources?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always, when they start doing NIL and all that stuff, the transfer portal, I said, this is right up my wheelhouse. This is turned into the NBA. Mm-hmm. And now I am an NBA general manager. And I've worked in the front office before as director of player personnel with the Wizards when Michael Jordan owned the team. So I've worn a lot of caps in my career. And my thing is, I tell players all the time, it's the reason why I was never the highest paid player on the team, because I didn't deserve to be the highest paid player on the team. And like I tell my guys in my locker room, yeah, some people are going to get paid more money. You're going to get paid. It's a pecking order everywhere. It's a pecking order at Walmart. I said, so get over it. So, you want to say these are college kids. I say, no, these are professional athletes now.
A really good friend of ours had a chance to coach Brad Korn, had Southern Illinois, and he was a part of some great teams for the Salukis, and now he coaches at SEMO, and you coach against him. He speaks of you in reverence because of this, because you coach basketball, and you don't get caught up in all the other silliness. Can you coach players today the way you wanted to be coached?
Yeah, you can. You may have to, you can keep your way as a coach. I also say you can bend as a coach, but you can't break. You can bend as a coach and you can't break. Larry Brown told me something a long time ago, and it's not a lot of coaches I talk to in college basketball, because I think there's a lot of phony people in college basketball. So I don't talk to a lot of coaches. I'll talk to Coach Brown sometime, Tim Floyd. I'll call Calvin Sampson. There's other guys I talk to. Larry Brown said, make sure you do things your way. So when you fired or you walk out that job, you clean your office out and you did things the way you wanted to do, not the way the fan base wants you to do or boosters want you to do. You do stuff the way you want to do stuff. It's your job. You earned the right to have this job. You do things your way. Coaching kids is, hey, look. When I was young, I couldn't stand Coach Sutton. I couldn't stand him. He was on my ass all the time. He was on my ass for a reason, because I was doing dumb stuff on and off the court. I wasn't a disciplined player on the court at the time. Did I have talent? Ain't no doubt about it. I had talent. You can't be a consensus All-American and Southwest Conference Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year if you don't have talent. So, but you had to learn to play within a system and share the ball with your teammates. Not that I never shared the ball, just be under control. And now when you say some kids, they're real sensitive and they'll be ready to transfer on you. And this is my thing about the transfer portal and guys transferring all the time. I talked to the Final Four maybe 3 years ago, Tubby Smith. We talked about the transfer portal, and he said, young fella, I tried to change my style. I tried to soften it up a little bit. I said, you did, huh, coach? I said, what did that get you? They still transferred, didn't they? He jumped up and said, you damn right. They still transferred. I said, so this is my thing about the transfer portal. If a kid wants to transfer, I tell him bye. It's not a long conversation. I tell them bye because this is a business. They have the right to transfer. Coaches leave all the time. And understand this, and I hope you say this on air. There's no loyalty in college sports anymore. There's no loyalty by the coaches, and there's no loyalty by the players. Every player that you coaching right now is a 6 to 7 month rental at best. The relationships of playing 3 years for Eddie Sutton like I did, and the fan base getting to know who you are as a player and know who you are 25, 30 years later down the line. No, those days are gone. Those days are gone. It's strictly a business, and you know, if guys want to transfer, I just tell them bye. It's not a long conversation. I'm not being cold-blooded about it. I just tell them bye because at the end of the day, it's their decision. They want to transfer. I have no problem with that.
Coach, how impactful has travel ball, not just in basketball, but in all sports, been on this lack of commitment concept among kids and parents and so forth? And if it is impactful, can we change that culture?
Well, it's so much money involved now. You're not going to change it. It's always been money involved. It's just been under the table. Now it's on top of the table now. I'm more concerned about kids learning how to play basketball the right way and how to be good people 10, 15 years down the line. Now, I thought my college coaching was getting on my nerve when I was at school for a while. And I've coached guys before that probably left my program or transferred and said they couldn't stand me. And that's fine too. I got no problem with that. But at the end of the day, I also got a bunch of guys that I've coached in the group text when I was at Clark Atlanta that send me notes all the time. Coach, thanks for what you discipline you gave me about being on time, showing up, doing things the right way, being respectful to people. As kids get older, sometimes they look back. If they're right, if they're good kids, they'll look back and say, you know what, this guy helped me more than this basketball. He helped me with life, and that's the most important thing as a coach.
It's the true blessing, isn't it, Coach? I tell my friends
Yeah.
that coach and didn't coach, those texts you get are the real blessing thing. I mean, you think
Yeah.
it's the rings, you think it's the pay raise, maybe a different job, but man, those texts,
Right.
you can't buy
Yeah.
those texts. So, hey,
No,
let's
you
switch.
can't. You can't. No price on those texts.
Let's switch to your team. You've been very impactful on a bunch of your guys. Jonathan Lawson comes back to you after being in a couple places. He was at Creighton, a place where we have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
respect for, and comes to your place. Had a really good year last year. First team All League, and now he's leading you in scoring. How has he improved as a player?
Well, it was Jonathan showed some loyalty by coming back to play for me because I told him when I signed him that you're going to play minutes and you're going to have the chance to showcase your game. He's like a coach on the floor at times, which is helpful. When you can return some guys, it helps you on the court with guys knowing your system. So Jonathan's been pretty good. I mean, I thought he played better last year, and the problem is right now we have so many guys hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just you just don't know. I got a lot of starters out.
You've got one guy coming back, Defensive Player of the Year. You know all about that part of it, and Toon Goktic. An interesting part about this game with Toon Goktic and Davion Sykes, they were teammates at Texas State. Toon had a big year for you. Looks like he's a rim protector, but our
Yes.
coaches say he can do more than just protect the rim. He can really guard the floor. Tell us about Toon.
Well, he's a jack of all trades. He covers up a lot of things for us defensively. He did a lot. We were really good last year defensively. That's why he was Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he offensive rebound. He runs the court. He harasses people on with the basketball. So he's all over the court with us defensively. Sometimes I got to tell him that he's being undisciplined defensively and not doing his assignment. But overall, he does a great job for us defensively.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
it.
When you look at this team, Coach Watson, they really had a big blow heading into the year. KK Robinson, who was expected to be a huge piece for them this year, he is going to be out for the majority of the season. Why many folks picked Arkansas Little Rock to win the OVC this year, which, by the way, will also be their last year in the OVC before they go to the United Athletic Conference. But man, they still got some dudes, and it probably starts with the Defensive Player of the Year in their league last year. Tunthach Gottic, man, he is a guy that is tall, athletic, and one of the best defenders in the Ohio Valley Conference. Well, he was the best defender a year ago in that league.
Well, and he's a guy that he's a rim protector. And man, when you got rim protectors, I think Southern's got some. I think we have the ability to block shots, but when you've got a rim protector in college basketball, it really helps you guard from the basket out. Plus, you throw a guy like, guy that can guard all positions on the court as well. He's really athletic and very impressive. The other interesting thing about Goktek's situation is he and Davion Sykes were teammates for a year at Texas State. So Davion can sure help his teammates with knowing what to expect, maybe a weakness or two that he might realize. They've obviously stayed in contact throughout the last couple of years, but this guy's a big factor for this Trojans team.
Jonathan Lawson, yeah, another key player for this Arkansas Little Rock team. He's got almost 83% of their minutes on the year, has an extremely high assist rate. He's the guy that can really make things happen for the Trojans.
He's made 11 out of 32 threes for 34%. He's very capable. Speaking of Memphis, he's from Memphis. He went to Memphis right out of high school, transferred to Creighton. So he's been around very good basketball. He's in his second year, and this is a big factor for why Little Rock's going to be good in the OVC, regardless of whether they have the other guy or not. They're going to be good because they have returning guys, and they have guys with length. And Lawson's got length. He can score the basketball. He has scoring confidence.
Here is what is maybe the stat of stats in terms of comparing these two teams on Saturday night. Coach Watson already talked about it. Southern is 364 out of 365 in terms of shots generated outside the arc. 25.7% of their shots come from three. Guess who is 365? Arkansas Little Rock. Only 23.4% of their shots also come outside the arc. So how important in this game for both of these teams will be taking away the paint and forcing the other to try to knock down some key shots.
Yeah, and in addition to those percentages, they've shot 81 threes, but here's the thing, they've made 35 of them. So their shot selection is impressive. That's what it tells me. It tells me that they too know who they are, and their shot selection is impressive. Lawson's shot the most threes. They don't shoot many of them. Bayless, the point guard, will also shoot some threes, but not high volume. I think it's going to, they do turn the ball over. That's maybe the counter to maybe some statistics or some of the percentages. They have 82 assists and 102 turnovers. So that kind of evens things out. But again, I respect teams that know who they are, and Southern's going to have to play very strong inside. But when Little Rock has open shots, they seem to make them.
26% of their possessions end in a turnover. That is the highest rate in the country, Coach Watson, as you imagine. And you did a great job talking about their percentages, because you look at, yes, they may attempt the fewest threes in the country. They shoot the ninth best three-point percentage in the country. And it'll be interesting just to see how that plays out on Saturday. As you wrap, Coach Watson, biggest keys for the Dogs to find a way. I mean, look, we've talked about, for Southern's perspective, how this has been a long road trip. I mean, Arkansas Little Rock still has another road game to come right after this with Central Arkansas. And you actually look at their schedule on the year, 10 of their first 13 games are on the road. So they're used to being on the road. They understand being on the road. But man, you really hope for Southern you can see the benefits of finally being back at home.
Yeah, the key for this game, I think that there's a couple obvious, is stay good at what you're good at. Keep building on what you've been building. And that is the defensive end. Southern's got such good pressure on the ball right now, and it's been effective. They're making teams earn shots. It's just like, with Memphis, we talked about giving up second chance points. Continue that first shot defensive percentage. And Southern is learning, and obviously the tape shows what's happening on the second shots, is that Southern's got to have five guys going those defensive boards all the time. And therefore, Southern will be able to turn a lot of those shots, those missed shots, into baskets the other end, because Southern is very good at playing with pace. I kind of, in that, the second big thing is rebounding, just at both offense and defense. The next key on the rebounding part is, it doesn't matter what name's on the front of your opponent's jersey. It's like, okay, UAB, they're going to play at a certain pace. They're going to have toughness and physicality and so forth. And Memphis, they're long. And, you've heard us talk about it. You've heard the coaches talk about it. Look, it doesn't matter. You've got to get 17 offensive rebounds against everybody. And, that ought to be the thing, like, hey, man, because what that does, Luke, and when you've got offensive rebounding teams, that gives those shooters so much confidence. And frankly, if I'm one of the offensive rebounder guys, I'm like, hey man, don't worry about that miss. I got that, because that's his offense off of a rim. So those are the two big factors. The third thing that I would say, and I'll just say it right here, the night before the game, I really think Southern's going to play well Saturday. And if they don't, I'll eat those words. But you typically see teams go to MTEs, and whether it's good or bad, from what I know with what practice was like, and very, very light practice on Thanksgiving Day, they got a good sweat up the day before the game. I think this will be a game that, if Southern continues to take care of the ball, is what I'm getting at. Take care of the ball, keep getting the shots you like. Don't experiment. I mean, I call it, when you hear me say on the radio, don't get tricked into taking your third best shot, that means that's a bad shot. Nobody has, you talk about scoring at three levels. Well, I guess Duncan's one, and mid-range two, and threes. But the reality is, most players have two shots. They have their best shot and they have a counter. Stay in the best shot, stay in the counter, and leave that shot that you're not very good at. Leave it alone. Let work on that on Sunday. But if Southern keeps playing to their strengths, they'll be fine.
Well, if you talk about playing your strengths, I think you should be play-by-play. Play-by-play is your strength on Saturday.
Ron Coomer's been getting a couple innings here and there. I keep bringing that up, man. I mean, at some point, it's just going to have to happen, Luke. As long as Ron Santos stays away from the play-by-play, and I think he will in the broadcast heaven. But no, I think Rodney Watson needs to stay in the second chair.
Hey, you know your personnel, right? Know your personnel. Know what you
know your stats is what Matt Payne wrote. Hey man, know your stats.
It should be a fun one on Saturday. We hope you join us, Saluki Nation. It's been a long time, I know, since you've been able to see the Dogs at home in Banterra, but you get that opportunity Saturday night. It'll be a 6 o'clock tip. Our coverage on Saluki Radio will begin at 5 o'clock, and we hope you join us on Saturday in Carbondale. For the coach, Ronnie Watson, I am Luke Martin saying so long, Saluki Nation. We'll talk to you Saturday night from Banterra. Go Dogs!
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.